Hello there, good evening to you. Welcome to State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. My name is Lantam Papanko, and tonight on State of Affairs, our conversation is centered on the politics of this country and the fact that there is a duopoly that needs to be broken. There are many emerging faces in this year's election. If you look on the ballot paper, there are 13 different candidates, of course, apart from the NPP and the NDC. The 11 others are all looking to break that duopoly. But among the 11, which one is the best? Which one should you go for? I have one of those candidates here in the studio. Of course, he's on the ticket of the Movement for Change and Alliance for Revolutionary Change. And he made quite some headway when he was announced as the one who is going to be the running mate to the leader of the Movement for Change or the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, Alan Kyerematen. And since that announcement, he's been doing some work. And today, we want to have a conversation with him and find out how the campaign is going, what the message is, why the Movement for Change or the Alliance for Revolutionary Change is the best option among all the other faces and flags that you'd find on the ballot paper going into the 2024 elections. I'm pretty sure you have an idea of who I'm talking about by now. But before we get into that conversation, get 10% off food, drinks, beauty and cosmetic and home essentials, electrical appliances, mobile phones and accessories, clothing, footwear, made in Ghana goods, and so much more at the Momo Cashless Market. You heard it right. From the 2nd to the 6th of October 2024 at the Tetekwashi Interchange Park, there will be over 100 merchants in one place with amazing discounts for all Momo customers. Fun activities include artist performances, DJs on rotation, board and TV games, kids zones, and giveaways. So join the fun at the Tetekwashi Interchange Park from the 2nd to the 6th of October 2024. Each day from 10 a.m. all the way through till 7 p.m. And just Momo it everywhere you go. Now, getting into the conversation, ladies and gentlemen, my guest is recognized as a dynamic figure with a wide-ranging background in corporate management, in law, in journalism, in music and entertainment, in activism, and a host of other things. I mean, the portfolio is long. My guest is Kwame Owusu Danso. Kwame, good evening.
Papa, good evening.
How are you doing?
I'm blessed. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's good to see you here in the studio.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine. And I thank you for granting me this opportunity to be here.
Well, we're happy that you've joined us here in the studio.
Right.
And, what's it been like since you were announced as the running mate for Alan Kyerematen?
Yeah, as I've described it many times, it's very surreal, very exhilarating for me. Particularly because I was in my little corner trying to effect change, and that little spark was seen by Alan Kyerematen and gave me the opportunity, to express him on a bigger, a bigger stage, right, so that we can together develop this country. So I'm happy that opportunity was given to me. I'm not again in my little corner now. I'm on a global stage. I'm on a big stage. I'm on the big political platforms to bring that light to bear. So I'm happy about it. Yeah.
Right. And what has been the reaction, to the announcement? Of course, I'm pretty sure you've seen a lot of reaction on social media, and I know that you've already hit the ground running. Doing tours here and there. What has been the reception?
It's been nothing short of, shall I say, mixed bag of feelings. Initially, when I was announced, obviously some people were surprised, particularly because a lot of them still remembers me as that musician. But they don't know what I've done over the period, after music. They don't know that I was in the corporate world. They don't know that I've done broadcasting, or I'm still a journalist. They don't know that I'm a lawyer, so it was a mixed bag of reactions. But subsequent to that, I think people have read a lot about me, and so they are calm. Initially, I think that, they just wanted to make mockery of this whole nomination, particularly because of the creative arts spectacle. Nonetheless, the reaction from the people who commented on that particular post they were very positive comments, and that actually gave me some comfort that it doesn't matter, where you come from. My story should serve as a motivation to every other person who is aspiring to do greater things and who is daring to dream. So it's been that, but it's been amazing, going forward. So I'm just hoping for the best.
Did any of it get to you?
No, not at all.
When people were,
we've grown tough skin,
making a lot of comparisons, between other people.
Absolutely. I think that we have endured quite severe things. So this was just a tip of the iceberg, and gladly I was able to surmount that. So it's not a problem at all.
So do you sense a shift? Are people now beginning to actually say, okay, this is serious business, and there's something that perhaps we need to try and rally behind?
It's actually a serious business, and for me, it beggars belief that anybody will hold the view that it is not a serious business. It is a serious business because even in my own little corner, I have been pushing for some reforms to be done.
Right.
I've been pushing for investigations into some corrupt practices. I have been leading some conversations relative to our democracy. I have been advocating for so many things. It just happens that a lot of people have not averted their minds to what I'm doing, particularly because oftentimes people are just so consumed by their own predicaments that they don't move out of that shell, so they don't bother to look at what people are doing relative to our democratic experiment. So to that end, I think that, in as much as people may have had reservations, I think that they actually see that to be a very serious business.
And being chosen as the running mate, what was the motivation to actually accept to be the running mate of Alan? What was the motivation to do that?
So, my desire is for young people to harness their boundless opportunities. And I feel that I have had enough experience in that space to help young people harness those boundless opportunities. I have, on countless occasions, been pontificating that the democracy of this country, or particularly the governance process of this country, is on the shoulders of the young people, and the young people must demonstrate that commitment to want to contribute to that, that experiment that we call governance. And so, for me to have started that journey, I found it, very satisfying that it was yielding some positive results. Now, I believe that my nomination will give young people hope and will make young people believe in themselves, that all hope is not lost yet. Because if you check, you would realize that a lot of young people have lost confidence in the country, and all of them are traveling out of the country. So if my nomination is what is going to give people hope, then why not accept it? So that people will believe that at the very least there's a young person who cares deeply about them and who is willing to accept that huge daunting task in order that we can further their aspirations.
You talk about young, people a lot. I mean, is that sort of the focus? And also, what personal experiences and values do you have? Or do you think that you've gained over the period that makes you the right choice for this role to really appeal to the young people out there to want to get on board the butterfly movement, or is it the Alliance for Revolutionary Change?
It's both. It's both. It's very interesting you ask this question. I think that primarily, if you look at the dynamics of our politics, you'd notice that from 2016, a lot more young people became interested in the politics of Ghana.
Right.
And so if you look at the numbers and the people who voted for Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, you'd notice that 60 to 70% of them were within the youth bracket. What it meant is that the young people wanted to see some dynamism, some change, some reforms, some transformation. And, before then, people were not really interested in the politics of now. So to the extent that young people now began to express themselves through exercising their democratic rights, then it tells you that people want actual change, that people want to see real progress and development.
Right.
And to the extent also that the young people are the ones who determined the the Nana Danko Akufo-Addo becoming the leader of this country, I feel that there are a larger marginalized group of people that we must, at all material times factor into our, body politic. And so, yes, if they are the ones who give the table to Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, why don't they have a seat at the table? And for me, that is a big lacuna, a big vacuum that we've created that ought to be filled. And I feel that I am best placed. I represent them because I've been there before. I've been on the streets. I've been, a musician before. I've done all the things that you're talking about. Trotro mate at some point. So I understand the nuances, and I greatly appreciate their plights and their predicaments. And I will be the one to fill that gap and to ensure that proper development is brought to the people of Ghana, to restore the lost hope and confidence they have in this country.
So these people you mentioned, a lot of them chose the current president that we have, but they believe that they don't have a seat at the table.
Yes.
What is wrong with Nana Akufo-Addo's government that people should not, or the young people should not look to choose them again? Because, you've heard your opponents, like Dr. Baumia, also talk about the fact that he also represents young people, right? And so it should be the alternative. It should be the one that they should look to continue the good work of this government. What is wrong with that? Why should they be looking elsewhere?
Right. So, the simple answer to that question is that if you take a cursory look at the governance style, strategy of Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, it has been very disappointing. I know of some young people who actually flew to Kumasi to go and vote for Akufo-Addo. And they were expecting some real change. You remember that prior to the 2016 elections, there were some policies that were outlined by the then MPP in opposition, which was heralded by the current Vice President, Dr. Baumia. Key amongst them was reforming the economy. And they spoke quite eloquently about ensuring some fiscal discipline in this country. They said, and it's on record, that they were not going to borrow. They said that, they were going to manage the economic affairs of this country prudently.
Right.
They also indicated that they were going to move us from taxation to production, you recall. And they said that they were going to plug the loopholes so that we will deal with the issue of corruption and save a lot of money so we can invest in other sectors of the economy. Fast forward, what do you see? The usual mantra that that we always refer to: if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. These are things that they themselves trumpeted. And obviously, people voted for Nana Danko Akufo-Addo and by extension Dr. Baumia on the basis of the promises that they made. Now today, check it. If you want to use the same metrics to judge them, they have failed woefully.
Well, but they say they've done well. They say they've managed the economy well. Look, they say the economy is rebounded. And of course, you know that they will always refer to the pandemic, which occurred, which plunged Ghana's economy into the abyss, coupled with Russia's war in Ukraine, and how that messed up everything, and how they are bringing the economy back to life. I'm pretty sure you've recently heard the finance minister say the ecomy is
but your CD to dollar they've turned the corner, but your CD to dollar is 15.6 CDs to a dollar. You have borrowed over 761 billion Ghana cedis. You get the point. Corruption, we are riddled with corruption. We've not seen, any real pragmatic solutions that will address this fundamental issue of corruption. And it's on record. If you look at the All African Games, and that is why I petitioned the Office of the Special Prosecutor, $15 million spent on food. It's unheard of. $60 million spent on refurbishing hostel facilities. Unheard of. 245 million in total expended in this All African Games. What did we get out of that? You look at the cathedral, $58 million. And the cathedral is still, nothing has been done about it. So clearly, this administration does not at all have what it takes to address the teething problems confronting the Ghanaian people. And they've not been, it's demonstrably clear. Everything that they have done has come to naught. And so, for me, I think that the young people must find solace in a political figure who believes in driving change. And that political figure is the person that I'm partnering to contest in this year's election.
So how would you respond when people say Alan has been a part of this administration that we are complaining about? He was trade minister. I'm pretty sure you've heard that. And you hear it all the time. Trade minister, he wanted to lead the party and he felt that there was machinations, and so he broke away from the party and then formed the movement. So it's not really different from the administration that you're complaining about. How do you respond?
I'm sure if Nkrumah were alive today, a lot of people would have said same. Because he broke away from the UGCC when he finally realized that his ideologies were not aligned to the ideologies of the UGCC. That which he needed to do at the time did not conform to the ideologies of the UGCC, and he therefore left the UGCC, formed his own CPP, and gave us independence. So I'm sure that today, if the situation, if Nkrumah were alive today, and Nkrumah had taken that initiative, a lot of people would have condemned him for doing that. What do we want as a nation? What we need is change. So if Alan Kyerematen has noticed that the party that he himself formed together with the other people has derailed from the trajectory of the ideological underpinnings and is now, going to form a movement for the young people so that we can shape our fortunes, what is wrong with that? It is a person with principle who can take such bold decisions. I mean, of course, he could have just simply, relaxed in the party. He's achieved it all. And, could have decided that, listen, after the exit of Nana Akufo-Addo, I'm actually going to retire. He doesn't want to do that. He wants his legacy to continue, and his legacy should be placed in the hands of the young people of this country. So he's forming this movement, and I think he's on record to have said that he's only a transitional leader. He's grooming young people to take up that mantra, or that mantle, and then run with it, and that is exactly what he's trying to do. So I mean, I'll find it very troubling if anybody would want to conclude that by reason of the fact that he left the NPP, he is not best placed to contest and to win and to bring change to the people. I think that would be very unfortunate.
What would have said if the playing field was level enough and then he had a very good chance of contesting and winning and had the imaginations not been skewed towards a particular candidate as is alleged? I mean, he would have still been in the NPP by now.
It is precisely. No, I mean, it's not about that. So parties are built on principles. Principles are built on ideologies. Now, when you conduct internal elections and it leads to maiming of people, it leads to bloodshed, and you are a man who has principles, you cannot identify with that. So it is not about the matter of internal elections which were conducted to which he lost. It's a matter of principle. If, for instance, the elections were conducted freely and fairly, and that people had not been maimed and brutalized, I am not sure he would have left the party. I'm sure he would have still, stayed in the party. Perhaps, maybe would have worked hard to ensure that they turn around, the ideological deficiency that the party is currently experiencing.
Right.
So that's precisely what it is.
Right. And in speaking, you talked about the failures of this government. You talked about corruption and all of that. And this is where I want to really dovetail into what the movement for change, or the Alliance for Revolutionary Change, people like to call it the butterfly movement.
The butterfly movement.
The plans that you have to deal with that issue, because we know that corruption has been long a very major issue, right? In this country, we always talk about the wanton corruption and how much we're losing to corruption and all of that. What is the movement for change's solution to the canker of corruption?
Okay, well, thank you very much. As we speak today, there is no real definition of corruption, and so somebody may engage in some corrupt practices, but that definition is not given to it, and so people get away with a lot of corruption and corruption related matters. Now, it is important that, and that is what the Great Transformational Plan is saying, that we would have to define what corruption is properly.
Okay, and in defining what corruption is properly, I'm very interested in hearing, what your definition is. But we need to take a short break here. So when we return, we'll really get into the issues and what the butterfly movement has moving forward, reason for which you may want to choose them or not. But reminding you that you get a 10% off food, drinks, beauty and cosmetics, home essentials, electrical appliances, mobile phones, accessories, clothing, footwear, made in Ghana goods, and so much more at the Momo Cashless Market. Yes, you heard that right. From the 2nd to the 6th of October at the Tukwashi Interchange Park, there are going to be over 100 merchants in one place with amazing discounts for all Momo customers. Fun activities include artist performances, DJs on rotation, board and TV games, kids zone, giveaways. Just join the fun at the Tukwashi Interchange from the 2nd to the 6th of October 2024, every day from 10 a.m. all the way through till 7 p.m. and just Momo it everywhere you go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. This is State of Affairs. Welcome back to State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. This evening, my guest is Kwame Owusu Danso, running mate to Alan Kojo Tremantin of the Movement for Change Alliance for Revolutionary Change. And we have been talking about the reason why they should be your choice going into this year's election. And right before we went on the break, we were talking about what they can do to deal with the canker of corruption, according to their GTP. And of course, if you give them the mandate, how all of that is going to play out. And Kwame, you were talking about properly defining corruption.
Yes. So, I mean, when you have people who have been entrusted with power and they are placed in positions of power and they abuse that power that, the people have entrusted in them for their own benefit and to the detriment of the people who placed that power into their hands, that can be defined as corruption. So, for instance, you use your position to steal from the people for your own benefit. That has not been properly defined. And so you find out that a lot more people, for instance, when we're talking about procurement breaches and all of that, and then you notice that people say, oh, there's no conflict of interest. There's no conflict of interest. It is because, the laws we have not been properly, have not properly defined what conflict of interest is or what corruption is. Now, in addressing the issue of corruption, His Excellency Alan Tremantin is going to deal with corruption head on. So, for instance, we're going to set up what we call the anti-corruption czar. So, there are going to be some reforms in our laws so that we create an office for an anti-corruption czar that will whose power will be decoupled from that of the Attorney General. Currently, you do know that even though we have the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is unable to perform his functions primarily because he derives his powers from that of the Attorney General. And so it is very difficult for him to have those prosecutorial powers to bring about proper accountability. And so we are saying that we're going to create an anti-corruption czar to be able to specifically deal with the issues of corruption.
Anti-corruption czar?
Yeah.
What is that?
An anti-corruption czar essentially, you can say,
who may not understand.
Yeah, so
what is that? And how is that different
from all the things an office that is apolitical? An office that is apolitical. So, for instance, we are saying that even the appointment of the special prosecutor is problematic.
Yes.
Right? It's done by the president.
Yes.
So we are going to have an independent body that will appoint an independent anti-corruption czar for the purposes of ensuring that we deal with the issues of corruption. That's essentially what we're saying.
So what's the process going to look like?
So the process is going to be, for instance, we're going to have, what's it called? An independent body. So an independent body. So one would have, so it's going to be different from the Council of State.
Right.
So we're going to have more like a second chamber of parliament.
Right.
That will be an embodiment of, senior citizens, an embodiment of professionals and things like that. And they are going to make that determination. So people will be nominated. They will make the determination as to whether or not this person is qualified and best placed to fill that position.
Right.
So we are going to take those powers away from the president.
Sort of to make it apolitical.
Yeah, so everybody, of course, selected people will be used, but you would have people who are credible, who have integrity, and people who care deeply about the progress of Ghana, forming, that body that will ensure that we nominate and bring about this independent anti-corruption that I'm talking about.
Right, but the president ultimately has the appointing power. He practically, according to our constitution, appoints almost everybody.
Yes.
Everybody.
Yes.
So in this particular instance, what is
there's going to be a constitutional reform.
What is going to be?
There's going to be a constitutional reform. That's what we're in. That we're going
to constitutional
absolutely
reform. We know how long that may take.
Yeah, but
and
if we want
to be
to,
there for at least the first 4.
Yeah, but if we want to,
so immediately, even before that constitutional reform is done, what are the?
But I'm telling you, but it's very practical. I'm saying that if we form a government of national unity, where it does not matter which political party you belong to, where it does not matter which ethnic background you belong to, where it does not matter which religion you belong to, and we form a government of national unity, which national unity will bring about the desired change. Why would we not be able to have constitutional reform? In fact, how many times have we been talking about constitutional reform? Everybody needs it. We all need it.
Right.
It's just that we do not have leaders who have the political will and the wherewithal to effect that change, and that is why we are suffering. So we are saying that this is what we intend to do. We will get the buy-in of all the political parties and well-meaning Ghanaians. Will effect the change, and we introduce the anti-corruption.
You know, and speaking of political will, I would say that has been the biggest thing when it comes to dealing with corruption, right? And all political parties have had all kinds of anti-corruption plans, you know, from, you know, NACAP to the president saying he will use the ANAS principle, which we never really saw anyway, to setting up the office of the special prosecutor, you know, to, I mean, all kinds of very nice things being said about how we're going to deal with corruption and all of that. But then the mandate is given to them and the status quo remains. How is Alan going to be any different, or how is the movement for change, Alliance, you know, for revolutionary change going to be any different? How can we trust that you are people of your word when it comes to that?
So again, Alan Kyerematen is on record to have indicated that he is the only leader who has never been corrupt. He's on record to have said that.
Well, we had Nana Akufo-Addo say the same thing.
But
I've not been corrupt.
You know, he has headed. He's headed Trade Ministry. United States ambassador to the United States, etc. He has held big political portfolios.
Well, and so are the president. The president. He was Attorney General, Minister for Foreign Affairs.
But again, there's never been even a perception, in respect of corruption that has been placed on the head of His Excellency Alan Kyerematen. Nobody can come out to say that he's corrupt. Nobody can do that. And so this is a man who has indicated that I have what it takes. I'm incorruptible. I have demonstrated time and again that I would never be corrupt. I've never been corrupted, and nobody can convince me to be corrupt. So if somebody like that is telling you that he is going to do XYZ, you must believe in him. Again, for somebody who left a party, which party has now departed from its ideologies, it should tell you that that person is principled. And that's what I said. Principles are either wholly kept or wholly abandoned.
So what is your government going to look like? Because this will be an independent candidate coming in. We have clear constitutional provisions talking about selecting a number of ministers from parliament, you know, in terms of appointments, in terms of the composition of the government. What is the government going to look like? Who are you going to work?
It's going to be a government of national unity. In fact, if the constitution did not envisage that there's the possibility of independent candidates forming their own government, I'm not sure that independent candidates would have been allowed to contest in an election. So the constitution envisions that is a possibility. Now, it is going to be a government of national unity, as I've indicated. And so we're going to work with different political parties. We're going to work with the best brains and the best minds who have the interests of Ghana at heart. So we are not going to be consumed, by our marriage to the movement for change. We are going to be a government where everybody, irrespective of your political background, if you are so minded and if you have the interests of Ghana at heart, we're going to give you the opportunity to serve in this government. That is exactly what we're going to do.
Okay, now let's go to the focus on the young people, because you represent the youth and you talked about young people and your experiences that make you the right candidate for this job. What is in the government of Alan Kyerematen for young people? What is in for them?
Okay, so Honorable Alan Kyerematen is looking at the young people from the informal sector and the formal sector. Now, his primary focus is ensuring that we create entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs in this country. So he has what we call Start Your Own Business initiative, where the government is going to incentivize, banks and other companies to provide assistance, training, skills, and development to young people to be able to start their own businesses. So the government is going to provide some seed funding to promising entrepreneurs, people who actually want to do something, who want to go into entrepreneurship, so that they can start their own businesses and thrive in this country. Now, secondly, we are also looking at skills training and development. So, for instance, if you are in a second cycle institution or tertiary institutions, we have what we call the skills training and development for young people who intend to do their own businesses, or young people who intend to work for other public or private institutions. So we are saying that compulsorily, once you complete senior high school, you are going to work for 1 year, and government is going to ensure that they will provide, incentives to companies that will employ senior high school graduates into their companies, so that they can train these young people and give them the skills that they need, so that by the time they get into the universities, obviously they would have had, acquired some knowledge, and then they can use that going forward. Also, the government is going to create what we call the health booths. Now, our government is going to create 100,000 health booths across the country. Now, health booth essentially is like the mobile money joint sort of, but it's in respect of health. Where we're going to have, young people man those health booths. Obviously, will be trained and certified. So, for instance, if you want to check your BP, your vitals, and all those things, you don't necessarily have to drive to the hospital or to a pharmacy, which is farthest from your house. You can just drive to the health booth, and then they will check your vitals for you. Ultimately, that will create about 100,000 jobs, okay? Because that will be scattered across the country. Government will foot the initial bills, and then as you work, you pay. Now, if you look at even in the mining sector, we're going to create what we call Youth in Responsible Mining, where we're going to bring all the young galamseyers together. We create a company for them. Government will resource them. Government will give them training. Government will give them skills and technical know-how. Government will aid them to purchase earth moving equipment, the ones that they use for the mining, and then they will, it will be on work and pay basis. So but government will have oversight responsibility on their operations.
The galamsey issue has become one of the major issues going into this election, right? And there have been all kinds of calls, primarily for there to even be a ban on all kinds of mining, especially small scale mining. What is your position on that, vis-a-vis what you're just telling us about how you're going to?
Our position is very clear and very simple. Lantam. Our position is a complete ban for 1 year. We want to ban small-scale mining, illegal mining, however you want to describe it, for 1 year. And then we will move from there and have discussions. Permit me to just take you through some of the things that His Excellency Alan Tremantin intends to do. And I think that yesterday, when we held the press conference, he indicated, 10-point plan in dealing with the issue of galamsey. So the first one is to Swift Traders Bank and things like that. But again, the first one is what I've spoken about, that he's going to completely ban. And then he will demobilize the earth moving machinery and things like that, so that we will now do an audit of the ownership of that, who gave licenses to who, okay? And then also engage in some reclamation exercise that will even provide jobs to the galamseyers while they wait for their licenses either to be given to them.
How different is this from the approach that was employed by this government?
The difference is
for 2 years.
The difference is political will. The difference is political will. The difference is political will. I'll tell you what. The only reason why we have not been able to deal with the issue of galamsey is as a result of failed leadership. Nobody can tell me otherwise. It is because leaders are playing political football with it. The NDC is saying, well, invariably, the NDC is saying they are supporting it. NPP is saying they are supporting it. They are supporting galamsey because they don't want to lose votes from the mining communities. But what interest are we protecting? Are we protecting the interest of political parties, or we are protecting the interest of the Ghanaian people? Ghanaian people who have to struggle to find water to drink, or we are protecting political party callous. That cannot be encouraged. And if we don't take the bold step in nipping this in the bud, we are told by the UN report that by 2030 we will be importing water into the country. The 2030 report that they are talking about, it appears, is being brought forward by our own actions and omissions. It cannot be. We cannot accept it. And so you need somebody who is strong-willed, who has the wherewithal, who believes in Ghana first, to tell you we are going to stop, ban it completely, and have conversation. Look, I tell you what, I've seen videos of young people who are saying that they are not happy themselves, engaged in Galamsey, but they have no other alternative. So what alternatives are we going to create such that these people will find some comfort, elsewhere, as opposed to being on the, you think they are happy that they are being every day they die at Galamsey site. They are unhappy about it. But it takes somebody who is strong-willed to be able to address this challenge. And again, you see, it is also because of the unseen hands of politicians, unseen hands of political elites. Okay, they are the ones who are funding this. They are the ones who are emboldening people. They are the ones who are encouraging and financing these activities. If we cannot bring our own to book, how can we address this matter? If you have people telling you party Yesika, and then they provide support to these people to go into the bushes or our forest reserves and our water bodies to go and mine, why would we be able to stop this? If you have a president who will pass an EI, essentially allowing people to mine in our forest reserve, how can we deal with this matter? It is as a result of failed leadership. I'm so disappointed in Nana Danko Akufo-Addo. I won't lie to you, because I, as a young person, had so much confidence in him. He has failed me. He has failed the Ghanaian youth. He's failed all of us. And we cannot sit down and continue to play this political football because you need votes. Because you need votes. Recently, in Central and Western region, we were told that they didn't have water running through their taps. Even in Greater Accra, we did not have water flowing through our taps. We sit in Accra and we think we are extricated from the mess that is happening. We are not. You buy cabbage, you buy lettuce, you buy carrots. Do you know the water that they use in growing those crops? So we have to be very upfront and in dealing with this issue of Galamsey.
Recently, of course, Democracy Hub and some others embarked on a demonstration, and we all know what happened. First day, police left them. Second day, a lot of them were apprehended. They were taken to court. You're a lawyer yourself. They were remanded, some into prison custody, some into police custody. There are loud calls for some of them for all of them to be released. Where do you stand?
I stand with the demonstrators.
It took, even though some of them were clearly seen engaged in illegal acts, in criminal acts.
But is Galamsey not criminal? Is Galamsey not criminal? And is Galamsey not an existential threat? If you don't see Galamsey as a national security issue, I'm sorry, you must have your head examined. This is an existential threat. So if young people are saying that the government has failed woefully, deliberately so, in addressing the issue of Galamsey, and they want to throng the streets to express themselves and to demonstrate their displeasures about the inactivity or the inaction of government, and you say that government is right in apprehending them,
does it justify the illegal act?
Does it take away?
Justify?
It justifies
the damage to property and all the things that we saw them do. I'm pretty sure you've seen some of the videos, right? Taking the keys out of a police vehicle, visibly provoking the police, trying to get onto the streets and all of that.
Why? The question is, why did they do that? Yes, why did they do that? There's no smoke without fire. You see, sometimes we justify some of these things. We have a right. Look, this country belongs to us. It belongs to the young people of this country. We have every right. It took Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Atipo, and the rest to be defiant.
Right.
And that sparked the 1948 rout. That is what we need to bring about change.
We need something like the 1948 rout.
But I'm saying that if governments are refusing, are deaf tone to the plight of the people, we need to tell government, we need to show government that we are the people who have the power. We wield the power. We wield the power. And we must demonstrate to government that we wield the power. We don't have to always wait for 4 years to go and sack somebody. We have to let them know that if we give you the power and you mismanage the power, and you don't use the power for the betterment of the people, we will come after you.
All right.
That is why every time they sit down, they don't do anything, and they feel bossy in their offices, and they don't do anything about why would somebody get a contract for $34 million just to employ ambulance?
We need to take another short break here. Kwame Owusu Danso is my guest, obviously very passionate about the issue of galamsey. But we're reminding you that you can get 10% off food, drinks, and beauty, and cosmetics, home essentials, mobile phones, a host of others, because there is a Made in Ghana. There's a Made in Ghana fair which is being done by MTN, right, from the 2nd to the 6th of October at the Tetekwashi Interchange Park. Over 100 merchants in one place with amazing discounts for all Momo customers. So make sure that you get there from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on these days and be a part of it. You're still watching State of Affairs here on GHOne TV. We'll return and bring you the rest of the program. Stay tuned. For revolutionary change, and we've been talking about how to deal with the galamsey menace, among other things. We don't have too much time. We'll have to begin to wrap up our conversation, so let's dovetail into something else. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that they're tired of the duopoly, they're tired of MPP, they're tired of NDC, they want to vote for someone else, but they don't believe that, if they're to vote for anybody else, their votes will make a change. Essentially, they'll be throwing their vote away because NPP and NDC have dominated, and so maybe they'll rather not vote or choose the lesser of two evils. What do you say to people like that?
First of all, I want to appeal to the conscience and to the hearts of every Ghanaian citizen that if we are so minded, if we are so upset about this duopolistic political architecture that we've been experiencing for the past 32 years, which has brought us no development, then we must collectively effect the change that we need. And we can only effect the change if we exercise our democratic right given to us by the Constitution. The Constitution enjoins us to vote, to exercise our franchise. So we are the ones who can only effect that change that we are looking for. If you vote for Alan Chemartin, if the next person votes for Alan Chemartin, if the other person votes for Alan Chemartin, okay, if all of us who are saying that we are tired of the duopoly and we need a change, vote for Alan Chemartin, that change will happen. But that change will not happen if you sit on the fence. And if you always lament and complain and engage in rhetoric and platitudes, that change will not happen. So we must be involved in shaping our young democracy, in shaping our collective futures. That is the only way we can get the Ghana that we want. Today, I tell you what, rent, if you look at the issue of rent, and that is one of the issues that really is dear to me. In Kwabenya and NIT environs, if you're a young guy and you want a single room, you would have to pay not less than 1,800 Ghana cedis a month. 1,800. How much do we pay the young people? How much do we pay them? So the issue of rent is a big issue, nerve-wracking issue that we must address. There are laws, but those laws are not enforced. Those laws are not enforced. The Rent Act, I think section 25(2) is clear, but we're not enforcing them. Honorable Alan Chemartin is saying that when he's given the opportunity, the first thing that he will do is to address the issue of rent, the issue of housing. Very important. We have to decentralize, our housing facilities, so that people who live in the hinterlands will not be in a hurry to come to Accra and come and sleep on the streets of Accra, or Kumasi or Takrade, or any of these big regional capitals. So it is something that we must look at. So I'm pleading all Ghanaians, we must be unified in our thoughts that we've had enough. If you go to the villages, I was in Oti region, my home region recently, and it is demonstrably clear that even the people who live in the hinterlands and overseas are tired of the duopoly, because for 32 years they've seen nothing. If you go to the villages, you'd notice that even in Banda there is no senior high school. They don't have water. So there are some villages which doesn't have light. So clearly something ought to happen.
Right.
But that thing can only happen if we make it a point that we are going to vote out these two political parties and bring in Alan Kojo Chemartin, who clearly will bring development to the
And before we go, how do you and your presidential candidate plan to distinguish yourselves from the other candidates in this election? Because there are quite a number of independent candidates,
Indeed.
from Cheddar to Kofi Kranting, and all of those other independent candidates.
Let me be honest with you. We are going to build a government of national unity.
Right.
Our central focus will be on accountability, and we are going to deal with the issue of corruption head on. We are going to deal with the issue of galamsey head on, and we are going to bring prosperity to the good people of Ghana.
Right. Kwame Owusu Danso, my boss, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We'll have to end it here.
Absolutely.
I wish we had more time, and I believe that subsequently we'll have more time to deal with some of these issues.
Thank you.
Kwame Owusu Danso is the running mate for Alan Kojo Chemartin, the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. That's right, of course. The butterfly movement also, if you want to call it that, the Afro-Frantok movement. And they are number 13.
Number 13
on the ballot paper. This is where we'll end State of Affairs here on GHOne Television. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Lantam Papanko. Have a good evening.